Hello, here, welcome back. Let's continue.
What happened to him? Recovery girl asked as Kendo and Kurawaro dragged Monoma into the infirmary, took a beanbag around to the deck. Kendo explained, which is weird cause I know the crazy support girl was aiming for his torso. Meanwhile, Nana Machizuki felt like laughing. Tenth, that's strange though. Kirishima mused. You're always so eager for competition, so I'm just a bit confused as to why you opted out of the sports festival, Bakugo growled. He wouldn't admit it, but he was at least thankful the damn rat let him tell his classmates he wasn't participating by choice. Now if only this shitty-haired idiot would leave him alone. Tenth, what? Toshinori stared in disbelief at the little girl in front of him. There was no way. This couldn't be Eri. Eri was a sweet, gentle little. You don't believe me, do you? Toshinori jumped. Figures. You see a scared little girl and think I should stuff her in a maximum security prison because I don't trust her. First, what are you talking about? Toshinori demanded. Suddenly, the girl was right in his face. I am Eri, she said venomously. But I'm not the Eri you know. I'm a variant of her from another universe. All for One murdered my parents and kidnapped me with the intent to have Tamura Shigaraki take my quirk after he was given All for One's quirk, after which my body would be used for the base of a Namu. But things went wrong. All for One died at Kamino and Shigaraki was captured and imprisoned in Tartarus. Jiraki became desperate to see his master's plan through, so he modified my body and forced All for One's quirk on me instead. She held out her hands, and Toshinori paled as he saw small holes in the center of her palms. The intent was for All for One's vestige to subsume my consciousness and take control of my body. But that idiot Garaki panicked. He rushed the operation in a desperate attempt to bring his master back, and in the process, he botched the surgery. I only got a blank version of All for One without any of the quirks the man had collected, and the man's vestige wasn't able to form properly and take control. Jiraki fucked up, and Izuku saved me before he could fix that mistake. I had hoped that my suffering would finally be over, but then you got paranoid and ruined it. My Izuku died protecting me from you. Toshinori was a loss for words. A version of me hurt you that badly. My quirk, spatial manipulation, ended up being supercharged, and I found myself forced into the multiverse. I was scared and confused. I just wanted to find Izuku again. I just wanted him to protect me. Time and again a version of you ruined it in some way. And if it wasn't you, it was All for One. It was Yue, it was the people who hurt Izuku. I found so many universes where Izuku was suffering, and the root cause was always you, All Might. Me, not directly. No, the problem wasn't as obvious as people wanted to believe. The true damage you caused was something they all choose to remain ignorant to. Tell me, All Might, you must have realized that quirk and quirkless discrimination are far worse than when you were a kid. Why do you think that is? She glared at him with intense hatred. It's because of you. Since you've debuted, society has gotten into their heads that only those with strong, flashy quirks like yours are any worth, that those with weak quirks, villainous quirks, heteromorphic quirks, or no quirks at all are trash that needs to be kicked to the curb. Your mere existence has turned society into one big toxic hate group. You're no symbol of peace, you're the symbol of a broken, toxic society. One that Izuku has to constantly suffer from. Toshinori stood, shocked by this girl's words. As much as he hated to admit it, deep down he knew everything she said was true. In his effort to become a pillar for society, he had inadvertently caused others to simply suffer more. First, I really caused you that much pain. Yes, Ronri shouted, her hands blazing with violet fire. I'm sorry. Ronri froze, the fire in her hands sniffing out. What? You should have never had to suffer all that, especially from me. I know you probably suffered more than I could ever realize, so the only thing I can offer is my sincerest apology, young Eri. Ronri blinked, something changing in her eyes as her horn began sparking. You never apologize. Young Eri, please. You never apologize. Why you only try to hurt me? You're supposed to be like the others. Why are you apologizing? Young lady. Izuku. She wasn't even paying attention to him at this point, simply clutching her head and crying. Why aren't you here? I looked for you, but you weren't with the others. The others are when Tosh 10th what? Izuku asked, stunned. Todoroki looked surprised. First, AI choked out. My dad's quirk is a more literal form of brainwashing than what Shinso has. He can influence a person's mind over time through skin contact. My mom's quirk let her produce a gas from her fingertips that induced a calming effect on people. I'd always helped whenever I had anxiety attacks. But if a person breathed in the gas for too long, they would become more suggestive to what a person wanted, so she never. Those two quirks could. Izuku. That was my dad's intention. AI choked. But when Mom found out his real intentions, that he was a part of the MLA, she left him just before I was born. I'm surprised the MLA allowed that to happen, Izuku said as he pulled her close. First, I don't think Redestro wanted to expand resources on me until he was sure I had a strong quirk. Izuku hugged HS girlfriend for a moment before he realized something. AI, did your dad use his quirk on you? I chose AI. Izuku's Todoroki, completely forgetting by the two, could only stare, completely taken aback by AI's story. As if in a daze, he turned and silently walked away. Others saw, just like, no, he wasn't doing anything wrong. It was his right to not use that bastard's flames. He wasn't doing anything wrong by using only half of his quirk. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Right to 10th Ibara stood stock still as she heard AI's story from around the corner. Feeling some mixture of shame and confusion, she turned and walked away.
Shame, and mostly shame because what the fuck she just thought of. Let's continue though.
She has a fever of 114 degrees, the doctor explained. Most likely her body reacting to extreme stress. Honestly, you really should just let me take her to an actual hospital. Unless she has a fire quirk, she should not be alive right now. Anything upwards of 108 degrees can be fatal for anyone who doesn't have a quirk for it. It's a terrible idea, Kajima explained. This girl has a powerful and dangerous quirk, and putting her in a hospital would only stress her out even more. Honestly, I'm taking a big risk just having you here, the doctor sighed. Very well. I'll prescribe some medication. Just let me know if anything changes. Kajima nodded before taking a look at the unconscious girl. It was rare to see Ronri look so vulnerable. Chapter 47. Lunch was a quiet affair, with Izuku, Achako, and AI huddled together at a table, taking comfort in each other's presence. Afterwards, when they had finished the game set up for the students to try in between the rounds, Midnight had announced the third round would be one-on-one battles, giving them the matchups. AI and Sithila joined them in the stands. I'm worried about Yuji-Marsan, Izuku sighed. She doesn't have a quirk to fight back with, and Todoroki has a habit of going overboard. AI gently grabbed his arm, and Izuku looked at her in surprise. She smiled. It was a small reassurance that everything would be okay. Todoroki and Yuji-Marsan walked out onto the field, and for our first match of the first round, President Mike cheered. We've got Class B's Yuki vs Class J's Ayanami. Wait, that's the name she chose. Apparently, she's an anime fan. Besides, it's temporary, unlike the hero course names. All right, Midnight called. The rules are simple. Fight until one of you has been immobilized or surrenders. You can also lose the match if you step out of bounds of the ring. Don't worry about the injuries, listeners. We've got Recovery Girl on standby, so feel free to break a few bones if the sound of a door slamming open sounded on the microphone. While Recovery Girl, what are you? Oh, okay, please just. Oh, he deserved it, Azawa spoke up. He could be heard making a noise of agreement. Night-chan already hurts himself enough. Izuku suddenly felt embarrassed. 10th hut. Tamura began as he watched the sports festival. I didn't know that Loose End had a twin sister. Inside the vestige realm, Hana Shimura face-bumped. 10 ready. Midnight called. Begin. A massive wave of ice immediately covered the battlefield. I'm back. I'm back. It looks like Yuki went for a quick, decisive wait a minute. She actually dodged that. Shoto's head snapped to the side just in time to take a fist to the jaw. AI-chan used to take gymnastics for years. She was always really good at it. AI said simply to Izuku and Achako's surprised faces. Shoto stumbled back, surprised by the force behind the punch. Hi there, AI said simply. Shoto sent out another wave of ice, only for AI to suddenly appear and slam her foot into his stomach. How are you moving like that? Shoto coughed. I don't know answers to some high and mighty prick who thinks he can be a hero with half his power. Shoto sent out another wave of ice, only to take a foot to the jaw, blood and spit flying from his mouth. Damn it, to stay still. Shoto snarled as he sent out another wave of ice. So planted her feet into his chest, sending him flat on his back. That would kind of defeat the purpose of this being a fight. Gonna use that fire yet? I don't need my father's quirk to win this. Why are you always going on about your father? What about your mom? Don't bring my mom into this. Oh, touched a sore spot, didn't I? Tentanako's mouth twitched, a smile starting to form as AI was making a fool of Endeavor's son. I taught her that. Tenth, you're slowing down. AI noted. Getting cold? I'm guessing the reason for having fire and ice was to balance each other out. Shut up, Shoto snapped. I told you I don't need that scumbag's flames. I'll win this with just my mother's ice. Win this? I don't have quirk and you're much worse off than I'm. If you can't even beat a quirkless girl with half your power, then how do you expect to beat a villain in the real world? What if the villain has a quirk that can counter your ice? I'll find a way, Shoto panted. I will never use my left side. I don't care who has to suffer in the process if it means proving my point. Yeah, I felt a flare of anger. Then you're no better than your father! Shoto froze, shock and realization on his face as he processed AI words. A small flash of fire appeared on. Shoto turned around and stumbled out of bounds in a daze. Yuki has left the ring. 10th TCH. So that's how it. Dabai sighed as he start watching your back, little brother. 10th Bakugo stared in dismay. Did that discount Princess Yuko just forfeit the fucking match? Are you fucking serious? 10th Ectoplasm watched as they cleared the ice from the battlefield in preparation for the next match. He could hear Vlad throwing a fit about the fact that Todoroki walked out of bounds of his own volition. He sighed. There was something wrong with that man. Though Ectoplasm was quite proud that someone from his homeroom managed to beat one of the hero course's strongest, so maybe he couldn't talk. There was a knock on the door, and Ectoplasm stood to answer it since everyone else was distracted. He opened it to find Todoroki standing in a daze. Is everything all right, Todoroki? Do you need something? May I speak to Hound Dog, please? Hey, Tentacles. You're you, right? Hatchum cackled. Cethilla tilted her head in curiosity. I have a proposition for you. May held up some support gear. Chapter 48. Jakuna Menu, president of the Heroes Public Safety Commission, frowned as she watched the live broadcast of Endeavor's son practically for. Who is she demanded? What's her quirk? I use you mark her as. At one point her name was legally changed to Hirokon, but she recently had it reverted back to her original family name. She's there as Tenai our pharmaceuticals. He tapped a few buttons. And she's quirkless. Oh, that would not do at all. 10th, am I a bad person? Hound Dog raised an eyebrow. Why do you say that to Todoroki? I hurt people. I refuse to use Hound Dog's side. He had said, Todoroki, doing bad things doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. What matters is whether or not you regret your actions. Do you regret how you've been treating your fellow students? First, Todoroki hung his head. I want to see my mother. Hound Dog, I'll see 10th and now, for our second, it's 1H's. I wanted it to be Babe Hatch. I see power and her opponent. She's more terrifying. What is she? Cethilla. I asked my opponent to use Hatsum called. I know she hasn't registered it, but I wanted our match to be as even as possible. Midnight thought it over for a minute. Very well, if both of you are in agreement, I'll allow it. She raised her flag. Ready, begin. Normally, Cethilla would be quite slow on land without a source of water. Unfortunately for Hatsum, her support item supplied her with a steady source of water. Cethilla shot forward like a bullet. Well, Hatsum mused as 10-year is Midoriya. The girl looked stressed, nervous, far more than in the original timeline. Izuku put his hand on her shoulder. Listen, Todoroki said some things during capture of the flag. Oh, he's wrong, you know, Izuku said, startling the girl. Nezu isn't someone who can be bought when it comes to his students. If he let you in UA, it's because he can see your potential. I can see it too. You have the potential to reach the top 5 someday. You'll be an incredible hero. You just need to see that for yourself. Be confident in yourself." He gave her a soft smile. "Ada would tell me that as class rep I need to be impartial, but I'm rooting for you right now." He left her be as she and Takayami were called to the arena. 10th. Next up, we got the Prince of Darkness and his symbiotic pal, Tsukuyomi. vs. the Princess of Class 1A, Creati. Mono walked stiffly to the stage as Izuku's words hung in her head. "Mother, father, I want to be a hero." "A hero?" Her mother scoffed. "Young lady, you are the heiress to one of the largest conglomerates in Japan. Why would you possibly want to be a hero?" "Because I want to help people," Momo answered. "Every day I see people suffering and there's nothing I can do about it. It's my dream to be a hero. All I ask is for your support." Momo's father smiled gently as he laid a hand on his wife's shoulder. "If that's what you want to do, then you'll have your support, sweetheart." Her mother just scoffed. "Ready, begin." Dark Shadow lunged at her with frightening speed. First, I passed the recommendation exam." Momo spoke up. Her mother looked startled, muttering something about damn rat not taking the hint while her father smiled. "I knew you could do it. I'm really proud of you, Momo." He hugged his daughter gently. "And don't think for a second that you were at an advantage. You got into UA on your own merit. I know you'll be a fantastic hero." "Wait, I got into UA, didn't I?" Momo thought in realization as Dark Shadow got closer. "And on recommendations. Father is a humble man. He built our family's fortune from the ground up. He wouldn't try to cheat his way through." And mother, "There's no way my parents' money got me here." She had people rooting for her, cheering for her. Izuku, her father, even Gyro, who she had become close to in their time at UA. As Dark Shadow reached the heiress, a bright explosion of light forced her to recoil. "Ugh, too bright," she complained, drawing back to the startled Takayami. "What is so? It's true then?" Momo asked as the light receded, revealing her holding flash grenades. Since Dark Shadow is made of dark energy, she'd naturally be weak to light. Shut was all Takayami could say before Momo started hurling flash grenades like they were snowballs. Takayami was forced to squeeze his eyes shut as blinding light flashed around him constantly. "I'm sorry, Fumi. I can't take it." Dark Shadow shrieked as she retreated back into Takayami's body. Takayami promptly did the only thing he could think of. All right, I surrender," he shouted, barely able to hear. The flashing stopped. "Tsukuyomi has surrendered. Creati is the winner," Midnight called. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Momo could only smile as she heard Izuku and Kyoka's cheers among them. Ned's looked away from the TV screen as his computer pinged. After a few keystrokes, his face hardened. "Oh dear, this is not good. Someone is going to have to pay for this." He seethed in fury as he saw that someone had uploaded all of AI user Mars' private information to the internet, including her quirk registration. Chapter 49. Aizawa stepped out of the bathroom, grunting as a student suddenly bumped into him. "Oh, my apologies, Sensei," Monoma said, patting Aizawa on the arm as he rushed into the bathroom. Aizawa raised an eyebrow. 10th, and we're back. President Mike called as the crowd roared. "For our next match, we apprentice to All Might himself." Its deck of the crowd's cheering intensified. vs. one of 1B's troubled children, who, honestly, Vlad is being way too lenient with. Vlad at least had the decency to look offended. "It's Phantom Thief." "How rude," Monoma seethed as he walked onto the ring. "I'm in no way a troubled child." Izuku rolled his eyes, though he couldn't help but smile as he saw Ari excitedly bouncing in the announcer's box. "Ready," Midnight called. "Begin." Monoma's eyes flashed red. Is that?" "Yep," Aizawa sighed, feeling a headache coming in. "Is that even allowed?" "There's nothing in the rules against it. We really need to update the rules." Monoma just cackled. "How does it feel to be put in your place? Want a dog?" Monoma laughed. "The strongest quirk in the whole school rendered utterly useless. I can't wait to see the disappointment on the crowd's faces." Izuku socked him in the jaw. Monoma looked at him in shock for a second before collapsing. "Phantom Thief is unable to battle. Deku wins." "It just isn't your lucky day, is it?" Izuku asked. For some reason, Nana Mochizuki started cackling at that. 10th Ashako prepped herself as she walked into the ring. For our next match, we have 1A Space Cadet vs 1B Shield. It's Uravity vs Red Riot. Oh, you're in class with that Bakugo deck. Achako sighed. Kirishima looked baffled. Hey, come on now. I know Bakubro's kinda rough around the edges, but he's not a bad guy. Achako looked at him like he was crazy, which he probably was if he thought Bakugo was a good guy. Midnight started the match. Achako lunged, surprising Kirishima as she punched him in the gut before he could activate his quirk. He assaulted me and my friends when we were cleaning up Takoba. He's an asshole who only cares about himself. He bullied my boyfriend for years. Does that scream good person to you? That's a lie. Kirishima snapped as he activated his quirk. I know Bakugo's loud and abrasive, but he's not a bully. He threw a punch which Achako dodged, planting all 5 fingers on his chest and causing him to float above the ground. Then why is he not competing today? Why is the boy who lusts for battle more than anything not down here fighting me in your place? I'm sure he has his reasons. Kirishima flailed in there. He's not a bully, though. I know he's not. If you really believe that, if you can't see a bully when he's right in front of you, then you have no place in the hero course. Achako turned away. Sensei called the match. No, Kirishima protested. I can still fight. He flailed uselessly in the air, unable to grab anything. Midnight raised an eyebrow. Red Riot is unable to battle. Uravity win. Oh, come on. What's with all these short matches? There's no fun in that present, my complaint. We need long, drawn-out matches. Complete bloodbaths. These people are here to see kids beat the crap out of each other. Not a door could be heard slamming open. Our recovery girl. I was just joking. There's no need to OHGOD my shins. Tenso Midoriya, who do you think's gonna win? Rin asked as Shoji and Kurowaru walked into the ring. Oh, Shoji, no doubt about it, Izuku said as he wrote in his notebook. Kurowaru's quirk relies on dark substances. Since the ring is out in broad daylight, there isn't much for him to work with besides Shoji's shadow and Shoji's superior in physical prowess, so unless Kurowaru manages to pull something from nothing, I don't really see him winning this match. Shoji wrapped his arms around Kurowaru as the 1B student tried using his quirk to jump into Shoji's shadow. The larger boy used the webbing in his arms to encase Kurowaru, effectively trapping him. There's also that. Izuku mused as Shoji threw Kurowaru out of the ring. Vanda Black is out of bounds. Tentacole is the winner. The 10th, the battle between Yume and Kamakiri honestly had the most substance to it, with Yume creating blades of dark energy to combat Kamakiri's blades. In the end, though, Kamakiri's battle lust won over, and Yume was thrown out of bounds, though the 1B boy was pleased by the battle and was a good sport afterwards. Vlad was pretty smug about the whole thing, much to the annoyance of the rest of the staff. 10th, so who do you think? Kendo has the best chance of winning. Izuku answered Ren's question. Even if Yanagi grabs stuff from the crowd, Kendo is superior in physical combat, and her quirk means she can easily sway stuff out of the way. Though I suppose Yanagi could get lucky. She could also use her quirk to try and grab Kendo's shoes to try and trip her up, though that may only work once if Kendo decides to remove her shoes, though that would just give Yanagi more ammo. Honestly, it really depends on how tactical Yanagi is. Surprisingly, the match ended in Yanagi's favor. Kendo had lunged at her in an attempt to grab her, only for Yanagi to grab at her shoes, the spooky girl taking Kendo's momentary stumble to shove her out of the ring. Vlad, of course, was smug again until someone pointed out that it didn't really count since both girls were in 1B. With that, the first set of battles had ended, and the second had talk. My lord, I apologize for the interruption, but it would seem the hero killer has taken on an accomplice. Oh, all for one looked interested, or at least as interested as someone could look when missing half their face. A child by the name of Hanako Yumara. There was a moment of silence, then all for one laughed. Hanako Yumara. I've heard that name before. Such a powerful quirk. One I would take for myself were I able to steal heteromorphic quirks. This may come as a surprise to you, Doctor, but Hanako Yumara is the perfect example of quirk singularity. The Bogoman grinned. Hanako Yumara's full physical strength is comparable to 80% of One for All, and that's without training a day in her life. She could easily bring it up to 95% if she worked for it. His smile turned wicked, and that's only in her base form.
Short, so here, please like.